Now, based just off the title of this video, you're probably asking yourself, really, Noah? Aren't you just going to sit here and yap about how good you are, how you're the best realtor ever, how you should choose Noah Cochran because he knows his stuff? No, no, no. I'll leave that to, 80% of the rest of the realtors in the world. I'm not here to talk myself up or tell you how good I am. Obviously, I am biased towards myself. If you were in my area, I would always recommend myself because I'm always looking to meet and work with new people. But this video is dedicated to wherever you are, whoever you are, if you are looking for a realtor. If it is in this area, again, obviously, I am biased towards myself, but there are also other good realtors in Columbia, Missouri, in Central Missouri. No one should deny that. No realtor should go around saying, always work with me. I'm really the only good realtor, work with me. There are lots of good realtors. There are unfortunately lots of bad realtors. There are lots of mediocre realtors, but there are a good, strong handful in every area of good realtors. So how do you find those good realtors? That is what this video is dedicated to. But real quick, just to introduce myself again in case folks haven't seen me before, I am Noah Cochran, an agent here in Central Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. And I know a bunch of agents in this area. Before I even got into the real estate business full time, I used to work in residential remodeling. I was kind of dabbling in some investing opportunities, and I would meet a lot of different realtors, many of which were not great, but some of which were great. And some of the better ones got me into the business itself, introduced me to the world, helped train me. And now I'm in here all the time and meeting a whole bunch of realtors. Again, some I can't say I would recommend, but many are great and I really appreciate them. They add a lot of value to this business. And I really just want to analyze and show y'all some things that I would always look out for in a good, strong realtor. All right, so this first one, I'm gonna come out kind of from the negative perspective because that will help y'all understand what I'm talking about a little better. I talk to a lot of different folks. Some are realtors, most are maybe investors or people who have had bad experiences with their agents. And it really comes down to two different sides of the same coin, and they're both really bad. Two different ditches, I guess you could say. Now, the first ditch, which is kind of what I ran into personally more when I was kind of getting into real estate, and that is realtors who just are there to tell you what you want to hear. You can just feel it. They're there because they want to sell your home, or they want to help you buy your home. Why? Because they want a paycheck. Now, is that understandable? Yes, we all want paychecks, but realtors need to be honest. No matter what it is, don't tell me I can sell my home for $3 trillion if I can't sell my home for $3 trillion. If you're just telling me yes, yes, yes to get me ingratiated, say, oh yeah, this guy's with me, this guy agrees with me, he'll tell me anything, right? I don't want to hear what I want to hear. I want to hear the truth. Now, I won't lie. Some sellers do just want to hear what they want to hear, right? And if the realtor tells them otherwise, they hate that. They don't work together. Listen, if that's the relationship you're going to have, then you don't want to work with that seller or buyer anyway, realtor X, right? We want strong relationships where there's pure honesty and pure transparency. So when I meet folks, I'm going to tell them the research that I have found, whether it be the home price range that I would recommend, whether it be this detailer, how they should market their home, or whatever it may be. I'm going to be perfectly honest, right? I'm not going to tell them what I think they want to hear. If I'm showing a buyer home, I'm not going to be like, yeah, this home's awesome. Yeah, I think you should buy it, just to get them to buy it. I'm going to be as objective and detail and analytical oriented as possible so y'all can make the best decision for yourselves, so y'all have all the information you need in this process. However, as bad as that is, that ingratiating realtor that will just tell you what you want to hear and is kind of useless when it comes to actually getting stuff done, however bad that is, the other side is just as toxic. And that is the realtor that just knows it all, right? They got it figured out. Your opinion doesn't matter. They're not flexible. No, you can never sell your home for that price. I have heard 3 different stories now of realtors who just come in so cocky. Who knows what research they've done? But they come in, and this is pretty often when they maybe call for sale by owners and tell them how bad they are at their job, which, again, if you know my opinion, if you want to do for sale by owner and run your own little business for a short period of time, it is worth it. But if you're going to do it, I would recommend doing it full out and not kind of just haphazarding it. If you're going to haphazard it, you typically end up failing, unfortunately, and ending up working with a realtor. But if you want to run your little small business and market it, go for it. I've made other videos on this channel about that. But anyway, back to the point, the realtors will often call up these for sale by owners and maybe tell them how bad they are at their job. No, you can never sell it for that price. Or maybe it's on a listing appointment and the potential client is like, well, I would like to try this. And they just like, no way, that can't work. We're going to do this, 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 and this because I'm right. And guess what? I'm always right. Now, real estate agents, realtors are the experts or should be the experts in the field of selling and buying properties, just like a contractor should be the expert in remodeling your property, right? So their advice and opinion and facts that they bring to you should be very, very valued. I will not deny that. I don't like it when I meet folks and they just need to brush anything I say aside. However, what I have learned in this field is that nothing is black and white. So if I go to a seller and I say, well, this is what typically works, or based on my research, this is what I would personally recommend. However, if you would like to try this, maybe if we're talking about price, if we would like to try this higher price range, or you would like to try something different with this property, or you would like to tweak this offer in this way, even though sometimes this causes problems, but you would like to tweak it because you think it would work better, I am perfectly willing to try that. So really what I'm trying to say here is avoid the realtors that just come off as if they're telling you what you want to hear, they ingratiate, they rarely give real solid research, advice, counsel. However, you also don't want that realtor that is control freak, pushy. No, you're wrong. You can't sell for that much. That's wrong. We can't offer that. No one's going to accept that offer. That is not the right way. And I have been around both these people, heard lots of bad stories about folks who have worked with these people in the past. It is not good. Because guess what? Sometimes, a lot of times, these realtors turn out to be wrong because, again, there is a lot more gray areas and flexibility in this field than most people would expect. If you would like to try a certain thing and the realtor is saying absolutely not, that realtor's not a good show. What you want to hear, though, is not, yeah, we can try that. Let's do it. We got this, right? Just so they can get your business. You don't want that either. What you want is a realtor that's like this. Okay, based on, again, this research, I would personally recommend this, but you would like to try this. Well, let's try this with the expectation that if, despite whatever effort we put into this, specifically I, the realtor, put into this, we fail or something goes wrong, with the expectation that we can then regroup after that potential failure in whatever capacity that might be, or something didn't quite work out right. We regroup, we reanalyze, and we reevaluate our situation and put in new strategies, if that means adjusting a price or putting in a different offer with tweaked bonuses or whatever it may be. So I spent way too long on that first point, but honestly, that is the one I run into the most, and it drives me crazy. We got both those types of realtors are terrible. So find that person that is standing on what their research, right? They have firm research. They will tell you their real advice. They'll be totally honest and transparent with you, but they also are not controlling and just overwrought, pushy. They will be flexible and work with different ideas and realize that this property and this world of real estate is much more gray and flexible than most people think. All right, number 2 is very obvious, so I'm going to go really quick because I spent way too much time on number 1, and that is someone who very clearly knows housing, knows the market, knows what's going on, and if they don't know the answer to a specific question, because listen, I've been asked questions many times I didn't know the answer to, or I wasn't sure about the answer, and so I simply say, I'm going to go research it. Now, if I say that and then go research it, then kick me out. But as long as the person either is very solid on that or is always willing to research that and come back with solid, real information to you, is very actively learning in this field, that is a great quality. And it's even better bonus if they have some kind of background or at least know like kind of how a house works. Honestly, I've been around some realtors who don't know anything about how a house works. They haven't touched a drill in maybe ever. So yeah, that is not necessarily meaning that they're a bad realtor, but it's kind of nice, at least from someone who's worked in remodeling in the past. I always liked realtors that were in the building field, contracting field, worked on remodeling once or twice, or just somehow knew a good amount about housing and how things work in the house. All right, number 3, again, very common sense, very obvious, and I've kind of covered it already in other videos, but this is someone who is very invested in your specific scenario, and it's not just some kind of facade, just to get your business, but someone that's very invested in your scenario, and most importantly, can strongly and clearly articulate a marketing plan that they are going to implement. In other words, don't work with a realtor who's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it listed. I'm going to do an open house. And then it's just kind of gray. Like, what is my realtor actually doing for me? You want to know, is this realtor going to do this, this, and this, and this, this, and this? And that way, if they're able to articulate that, so, these first 3 weeks, this is what I'm going to be doing for marketing. This is how I'm going to work with buyers. This is how I'm going to push your property out in front of as many people as possible and position it as strongly as possible. Then that way, if they have articulated it clearly, made it clear that they are going to put in real effort and actually provide real value for you, you can then hold them up to that standard. If they don't do that, well, that's a big red flag and you should probably fire them. So not only do you know what's going to happen as the process gets involved, but if it doesn't happen, you can then see that and say, well, no, thank you. All right, number 4, again, I'm going to go over super quick because it's pretty much the one that people use a lot already, and that is referrals and testimonials. However, I'm going to preface this with something very important. What types of referrals and testimonials are you receiving / getting about this specific realtor? So personally, again, in my experience, you might have had great experiences with referrals from, say, family members. Unfortunately, just using your family member because they're your family member or using a referral from someone without real evidence of that realtor's work is not smart. Because unfortunately, if your uncle recommends their son, well, they're biased towards their son. Their son, unfortunately, could be pretty bad. And I've heard stories about this a lot. Well, I worked with my relative, or I worked with the realtor my relative recommended because they were my relative, and that's all. I'm not saying your relative realtor isn't awesome. What I'm saying is, don't trust them just because they're a relative or just because they referred to you by a relative or a friend. Put them through the analysis that I've already talked about in this video. Can they articulate their marketing plan? Can they give a good step-by-step process? Are they clear? Are they invested? Are they flexible but not just there to ingratiate? All these different things, run them through the spectrum. However, if they pass that and meet those different qualifications, that means they're a really, really good choice, because going off a referral and a testimonial and they have those qualities, awesome. If you've never ever heard of someone, obviously, trusting them is going to be harder. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. Most of you guys probably have never heard of me. And thus, getting referred me or getting a testimonial can really provide that little boost of trust. Again, though, you of course don't need a referral, don't need a testimonial. People I started work with, I didn't know from Adam. I just judge them based on these different parameters, and that alone can help you. But again, All I'm saying here is that if you're going to use referrals and testimonials, which can be great and powerful, just make sure you run them through this gambit and make sure it's legit and you're not just doing it because Uncle Bob said to. Alrighty, and real quick, just one last point, and that is a realtor that is already providing value. Maybe it's for the world generally, maybe it's for you specifically, but in some capacity, they are willing and already providing value for you. Whether that be providing real research about a specific neighborhood, subdivision, pricing strategy, marketing strategy up front to you. No questions asked. No, hey, if I give you this, are we going to work together? Just providing free value to you. Or maybe they're on social media and providing information and value content to help you make decisions. That is something obviously I try to do here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Try to provide value up front to folks so they can make the best decision for themselves, even if that means ended up not buying or selling. I'm not here to make folks buy or sell. I'm here to provide value and information. So finding a realtor that somehow provides value up front. I know several realtors like this. They're not just the realtors that say, hey, look, I sold 6 trillion houses last year. You should work with me. They're providing real value. They're saying, here's real information. Here's real assistance. Here's something you actually need in this process to know about, etc., etc. So just seeing that value provided upfront for free, no strings attached, is a huge boost, at least in my trust, to that realtor. Now, I've worked with several realtors in the past, again, before I got into this business, where you could tell they would just provide value to you. They'd give you information, they put in work with no strings attached. It wasn't like, you have to do this. Okay, well, if you do this, we need to go look at 6 houses and meet in this category, or we need to sell your house together. It was just providing value upfront and information upfront. And guess what? Realtors that did that, I would end up most of the time wanting to work with based simply on that. Alrighty, folks. Well, those were just some of the things I wanted to go over about how to find the best realtor in your market, in your area. Again, if you're in Columbia, if you're in Central Missouri, I would love to hear from you. I would love to at least meet you in person, and you can judge me from there. You can go ask these questions. You always should ask these questions, no matter who the realtor is. Make sure they're legit. Make sure they're not that pushy guy. They're not that ingratiating guy, but they're honest and transparent, but they're flexible. They're already providing value. They have strong backing and information. If they don't know something, they will go discover that, and they can articulate their marketing plan and what process is going to look like for you, whether it be the selling or the buying. Well, this video is way too long, but I hope this was of some assistance to any folks that may be looking for a realtor. If you are in this area though, again, I would love to hear from you. Give me a call, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, show up out of nowhere. I would always love to help. But folks, until next time, best of success on your real estate journey, and you'll have a good one.